So I have here some of the commonly asked questions in regards to modern method of auction. So let's fire through these and I'll give you the answers to make an informed decision about your next move. So let's dive in. Question 1. How do I know if my property fits for auction? Well, quite simply, it's not necessarily about the property. It's about your circumstance. Are you looking for a quick and speedy transaction? That's the first thing we look at. Following on nicely from that question, does my property fit? Is it based on condition? Now, it's not based on condition. We sell properties at auction which are literally move-in ready, no work required at all. Yes, there are also some properties that need lots of renovation and lots of work, but it's not about the condition, it's about your position and your availability to sell. So, will selling my property at auction mean I get less for the property than I could via private treaty? Well, quite simply, no. Auction allows us to open the whole of the market to your home. It also allows us to display your highest and current bid. So we're actually asking buyers to bid as much as possible and as high as possible on your home. And don't forget, you set a reserve as to where you are comfortable to sell your property. Okay, so question 4. What happens if my property fails to sell at auction? Now, priced accordingly, your property will achieve maximum exposure and I'm certain we will find you a buyer. You get 21 to 25 days on the first cycle. If it fails to sell, which I'm sure it wouldn't, we can reset it for another 21 or 25 days, giving you another option. Okay, so next question. What if I change my mind about selling at auction? Now, we'd hope that you'd come into the auction situation committed and ready to sell your home. But we are aware that circumstances can change. Should you need to withdraw your property from sale, we ask for a 21-day withdrawal notice to make sure that we've exhausted the marketing and given you the best option. After that, there's 60 days before your property can be relisted or sold. Again, it's just making sure we exhaust all options. Okay, so here's a good one. What if I'm in a chain? Can I still buy at auction? Now, realistically, most buyers and all buyers should be chain free. I think that if you enter an auction agreement and you've got a chain behind you and you're depending on a sale to purchase your onward, which may well be an auction purchase, there's a lot of risk there that things could happen out of your control and therefore then you may well not be able to continue with your purchase, which at auction there may well be some fees. So importantly, chain free is the best way. Look at the property, bid and be in control. So I think we're looking at question 7 now. The question here is, what is an auction pack? Now, quite simply, an auction pack is documentation put together to give you, the buyer, and your solicitor as much information as possible to make an informed decision about the purchase. Now, I'm going to read off here because there's quite a bit involved. Some of the paperwork involved in the auction pack, you have the title register, title plan, the property information forms, fixture and fittings forms, local searches, water searches, of course the energy performance certificate, and any additional documentation which may well be of use to you and your solicitor to make an informed decision to purchase. So question number 8, what if my reserve is not met? Now, that's not a problem. We will look at the interest levels and the bids that have been received, and we'll discuss that with you, the homeowner, and we'll look at the highest bid placed. It's an open discussion. If you feel that bid is close enough to where your reserve is and you wish to accept, we can go back to that buyer and see if they are ready and willing to proceed. If they're not, don't worry, we can reset the property for another cycle, ensuring you get the best price. Okay, so next question. What is the starting bid? Now, the starting bid is the advertised price for the property. Now, that price is generally within around 10% of where the reservation may well be. Now, that figure doesn't mean that if you offer that price, you're purchasing it, and it's certainly not the figure which gets that property taken off the market. So, for example, if we advertise the home at 90,000, we're simply asking for bids in excess of 90,000. Okay, so working our way down now, last couple of questions. How long does the auction last? And therefore, how long does an auction take? Now, as I mentioned earlier on, an auction runs 21, 25 days. It can be a little bit sooner if required, but we want to make sure we expose it to the whole of the market. Once the buyer's locked in and secured, they will have 56 days to complete, 8 weeks. Now, if you compare that to traditional sale of properties, we're looking at most transactions taking 16 to 18 weeks. So auction is a much quicker route to sale and more secure. Okay, so an interesting one here and an important one. How much does it cost to sell my property at auction? Well, quite simply, it doesn't. So selling your home at auction doesn't cost you. There's no agency fees there. So you're already generally at least 1% better off. The costs that you will incur are at the end, obviously your solicitors and that auction pack we mentioned earlier on, which comes in currently at around £445. Still far, far cheaper than a traditional method of sale with lots more security. Okay, so last question for today. Auction seems quite new to me. How do I get my property into auction? Where do I start? Well, that's simple. All you need to do is call us here at DB Roberts, speak to myself. I'll come out to see you. We can discuss the options for you and your property and get you through to a successful transaction via modern method of sale.